Hey kids, you're listening to the internet's wettest podcast about video games, consoles, and pancakes. The SML Podcast. Prepare for the SML Podcast.
I think the answer is going to be yeah, but just to make sure you're down with talking about experiences and stuff like that, right? Like with your work.
What else would I talk about?
Exactly. But I just wanted to confirm,
like maybe your hobbies or passions in life,
I came here to talk about my favorite video games, like Sperry said. Yeah, you can be like,
This is just a podcast about stamp collecting. I don't know what you guys are here for.
I came to talk about
philately. Oh, you guys are into philately? That's what this is?
Yeah. Finally, someone who gets it.
Oh, okay.
I think I just had a stroke. What?
Philately is the art of stamp collecting.
Oh, okay. That was a word I was not familiar with. Okay.
See,
cool.
Aki, you learn stuff on this show too.
Except for I've already forgotten what the word was again.
Philanthropy,
Philately.
right?
Philately.
I don't like that word. That's hard to pronounce.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML Podcast. I'm your host, Joe. Aki's here, Chris is here, Pernell's here, Andy's here. Everyone pumped for the show.
You're asking the wrong guy. We just came off of Labor Day weekend, man.
You got to do the Pernell, yeah.
Yeah. Wait,
fucking yeah.
That's better than the one I just did. Let's go with that. That's better.
I'm excited because we have a guest joining us tonight. Award-winning composer Wilbert Roget II is on the show, slumming it with us. Will, what brings you to the SML podcast?
You asked me to be here?
Oh, yeah.
Good answer.
So that's a great reason.
Wait, it wasn't lies and trickery like usual? Okay.
No.
I don't know how I feel about that.
No, you see, the goal is to get out of the so-called slums that Joe mentioned. So to do that, you get quality guests on the show, like our friend here. So he asked him, and he agreed.
But we're still here.
Well, you're being
just Will, how are you doing tonight?
I got tricked into it.
Yeah.
Well, how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm just kind of working on stuff and sort of jonesing to get back into the game. Like, they just dropped a new expansion to Helldivers literally today that I haven't been able to play yet. But eventually, I'll be finished with work stuff, and then we'll be on.
Wait, they just launched it on Xbox with a new war bond, and there's already a new update?
There is, yeah. And actually, I literally just last night, I realized the logic behind that is give the Xbox players like a couple of days to start understanding the game before slamming them with this.
Damn.
So it kind of makes some sense.
Makes good sense.
Yeah, they wanted to lube us up a little before they plowed us real hard. It's fun.
I think the thing I love most about Helldivers 2 launching on Xbox is that the PlayStation and PC Helldivers have been incredibly welcoming. There's very little console warring. It's just everybody wants to fight for democracy.
And we haven't done anything horrific yet.
Well, I think that comes from the game's design. I think more and more game designers are realizing that if you design your game in this certain way, that affects how the community will respond to each other, not just to the developers. And I mean, cooperation is such an important part of the game itself from the core, so it didn't really make any sense for there to be some friction between players of different platforms or anything. So that's exactly why you're seeing things like high-level PC and PlayStation players dropping in and giving the Xbox players all kinds of fancy new toys like mechs and cars and different kinds of guns and stuff. Being like, oh, try this out.
Nice.
So I'd like to ask you a few questions. I know we just kind of got started, but my mindset is in the idea like get it while the iron's hot. And full stop and full disclosure, I played a bit of Helldivers 2, and I sucked at it. And as you know, while I'm reviewing on the show, I bounce around games a lot. However, with that said, one of my best friends who lives in Philadelphia, he is obsessed with the game. And apparently, as I learned from talking to him about this in the last few days, you are apparently a recent hero of his, in his words, not mine. And I asked him a couple of questions. I was like, do you think you could come up with some questions you'd like me to ask him as a fan of his music and the games he's composed for? And he said, absolutely. Give me 5 minutes. And he actually hit me with some.
Here's a list of 73 questions.
I'm not going that hard because I know you guys got questions too. But I'd like to just get one right off the ground in case there's no time for all of them. Which is, he said, can you speak to the music education opportunities you had growing up in the Philadelphia area? How important do you feel childhood music education is? Because he has, his kids are in band in the area too, and his family is all about music.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, so first off, having his kids in band and concert bands and jazz bands and whatnot, that's incredible for reasons that you probably wouldn't even think of. If they're playing a wind instrument, what that means is that they're going to have to learn to listen. They'll have to learn to listen to each other. They'll have to learn how to cooperate. You're going to need patience, obviously, not just in practicing, which, of course they need to practice at home, but also while you're sitting there in rehearsals with the rest of the band. Maybe the director is working with some other section, or maybe someone else in your section is, not getting it or whatever, but you'll have to learn patience as well. I mean, these are just skills that are so vital, I think, to being a well-rounded adult that it's kind of shocking to me that anyone would even consider removing funding for music education, especially in a world where, there's so much screaming for our attention at all times, and everyone's got a smartphone and tablets and computers, and, you're never not looking at a screen, except for those precious moments where you're, maybe you're in a band, or maybe you're doing something else that's collaborative. Maybe it's a sport. That could work too, but these are just so vital to your education as a human being that I think it's great that your friend has their kids in band, because that's going to teach them so much more than you probably even realize. Philadelphia, it has a rich musical history, actually. One of the best music schools in the entire country is in Philadelphia, the Curtis Institute. As well as it used to have the University of the Arts, and it's just got a very rich musical heritage. In my case, I didn't go to Curtis. I went to another school, just a regular high school, but we had an incredible set of music teachers at my school. My middle school music teacher, she just took such a great interest in the students as individuals. And as far as her curriculum, she was not only teaching solfege and notation from a Western perspective, but she was also introducing us to world music. Just as early as 6th grade, we were learning songs from Korea, from the Middle East, from Israel, and it was so cool. I mean, I never would have been exposed to that otherwise, especially so early. So it was wonderful to have that kind of an education. And then in high school, our music teacher,
really quick, what school you were referring to?
I went to Haverford. In high school, our music teacher was the principal organist of the Philadelphia Orchestra. I mean, he's got CDs, at the local Barnes and Noble or whatever. So he's like this incredible musician. But he was also just one of the most fun people to hang out with. And he just made music history come alive, and he made music theory seem relevant and actually fun. And everyone, absolutely aced all the, AP music exams that maybe other people might have had troubles with at different schools. But in our case, we just had such a great foundation in music that it was like a walk in the park. And then outside of school, I had piano lessons. And my piano teacher, she was so incredible. Like she had a bunch of students, and I was very lucky. I was kind of in her top 3 students or whatever for piano. And she would take the three of us to concerts and art museums. And she would, like, it wasn't just like, here's the mechanics of playing the piano, play these notes correctly or whatever, but it was more about understand the bigger picture of what is art, what is music. It wasn't just, a rote program, but it was more like, look at the big picture, ask the more difficult questions. And then, of course, practice. Of course, you had to become proficient, but again, I'm so incredibly grateful for that upbringing. I never would have had anything like that on my own, I don't think.
And it's funny you mentioned the idea of like the constant set of practice and the piano in the same line of dialogue, because one of the things that came up in that discussion, which he then also reached out to his cousin, who is also a fan of you, he specifically stated like the idea of like how many times did he play that classic Helldivers musical phrase on the piano, because before he thought that was fantastic. This is it, because he's obsessed with it apparently. So I loved hearing that aspect because it tied directly back to that statement too. I love hearing that Haverford aspect, because that's definitely dropping bars from like where I'm familiar with too. I hang it up that way often, but I don't want to bogart too many questions from these guys. I got a few more, but there's multiple people here, so I don't want to hold that up. But I love that answer.
Well, let's start with the beginning. What got you into music, and what got you into composing for video games?
Oh, well, like I said, I started very early with, piano lessons. I was probably a really annoying kid, and my parents just wanted me out of the house. So I got ever since maybe I was 3 or 4 years old, I was taking piano lessons just to, drain a little bit of that annoying kid energy and, just so they could have a break from me probably. But then, that kind of became my entertainment all throughout lower school and middle school. It was literally just like cartoons on network TV. We didn't have cable or any video game systems, actually. It was just
Disney
cartoons and
man.
playing the... I'm sorry? Say again?
Disney afternoon. Me some DuckTales, Gummy Bears.
Oh, yeah. What was it? Tailspin. Tailspin was my
Tailspin
favorite.
was the jam.
But no, yeah. But yeah, man, that was what I was into. And then it wasn't until middle school that I was at my friend's birthday party, and they, gave me a bunch of quarters, and I saw Mortal Kombat for the first time. And I was just obsessed immediately. And then after that, it was Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation. And that was when I got into high school. Funny enough, I know this might ruffle feathers, but I was never a fan of platformers or like the side-scrolling like type games. I'll play them now, but back then it just didn't really interest me at all. So video games were like, oh yeah, this is a cool thing, maybe at the arcade or whatever, but it's not. I wasn't as obsessed with it until we had Final Fantasy VII, and it was much more narrative in nature. They almost advertised it on TV like it was going to be a movie, except it's a movie that you can. And for me, this was 1997, so that just seemed like the coolest thing ever. And it was FF7 that basically taught me, yes, this is what you want to do for the rest of your life, is writing music for video games specifically.
Makes me glad to hear Final Fantasy VII inspired something beyond constant sets of on-brand sequels. So that's wonderful to hear.
Well,
there were so many commercials for that game back in the day. It was I never saw anything like that, because I played Final Fantasy 2 and 3 on Super Nintendo, and they just they were under the radar. You knew they existed, but only because you followed RPGs. With Final Fantasy 7, it was just like a whole new world. Like, Final Fantasy matters now. And I think the soundtrack was a big part of that too.
Oh yeah, remember that was when they were trying to do the thing where they wanted to actually bridge the gap between, playtime with video games and like cinematic masterpieces, and they were going hard to the paint both on budget and on production to give us that. So I think they succeeded.
Oh, for sure. I think that FF6. Oh, sure.
I was going to say, Horror Acolyte in chat was asking, the first game soundtrack that made you really appreciate gaming and music. I guess you kind of touched on that with Final Fantasy and Mortal Kombat, and then what is your favorite game soundtrack all time?
Oh, that's impossible to answer. But I mean, honestly, even though FF6 was the one that got me into this, I later on played, FF7 was what got me into all this. Later, I played FF6, and I think that's my favorite Uematsu soundtrack.
Hell yeah.
And then Final Fantasy Tactics, and by extension, Vagrant Story is my favorite just Final Fantasy score, period. With
so good.
13-2 being a close second. But as far as my favorite score of all time, I mean, that's very difficult to answer. I mean, like I mentioned, Vagrant Story is probably Vagrant Story and Shadow of the Colossus, I think, are the most influential on my own writing style. Perhaps Final Fantasy Tactics is also up there. Chrono Cross and Xenogears are also like way up there. I love Mitsuda-san's music. Funny enough, I was so obsessed with the Chrono Cross and Xenogears soundtracks that I specifically at one point said, you need to just stop listening to this because you're just going to become a Mitsuda copy if you're only looking at, So I kind of put a moratorium on that, but I mean, it's so heartwarming hearing his music later on. As far as Western favorites, I mean, for sure.
Yeah.
So with that said, in regards to like you feeling, were you still going? Sorry, because you got jumped.
Sorry, I talked too much.
No. First of all, no, you don't. You're
here to talk
plenty and well enough. Don't let anybody tell you you're wrong about that. If they do, punch them.
Yeah,
but I kind of thought I had a thought based off of what you said about inspirations. And by the way, Xenogears is a fantastic soundtrack to be hooked into.
Yeah.
Going back to Helldivers 2 and your composition of that particular game, what was your inspiration for the sounds of factions featured in the games, featured in the tracks The Terminid Horde, The Illuminate Cult, and The Automaton Legion?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess in order, the Terminids were very greatly influenced by Planet of the Apes, like the Jerry Goldsmith classic scores to Planet of the Apes, as well as some of Michael Giacchino's work, like in Lost and Mission Impossible 3, that sort of very primal sound. Curiously, you would think that I would have studied his Jurassic World music, but I still literally have not gotten around to watching or listening to that, but I'm sure that also is really brilliant stuff. Quincy Jones was also quite an influence on that. I mean, Quincy Jones, I guess people know him from things like Soul Bossa Nova, the main theme to the Austin Powers movies, but he has this brilliant way with harmony and writing for woodwinds. He's winds and brass. He is a trumpet player initially. And if you don't know, Quincy Jones was like Michael Jackson's producer for many, many years. And he more than that, I mean, he's a brilliant composer of like art music as well as funk music and bossa and all these kind of different genres. And then an executive producer for television. Like I think he executive produced the Fresh Prince, I think.
He wrote the theme song too.
Yeah. I mean,
got out of that rap career and went into movies and TV.
Yeah, he's just one of those people that's, rest in peace, but like just absolute legend. But I'm referring more towards his older work in television and in art music. Just the way that he puts harmonies together, I really loved. So that was a big influence. I think that covers it for the Terminids. The automatons, I studied a lot of RoboCop and Terminator movies. Because it just made sense with the faction, but also Russian art music, particularly Shostakovich. This composer Shostakovich was a huge influence on that. They kind of stressed like, yes, we want them to seem like these big, imposing metal kind of like the Cold War type vibe. In the final game, they didn't really do that as much, most likely because of the whole Ukraine war. But that was sort of the artistic influence, and so you can kind of hear that a little bit. And then lastly, a little bit of Nine Inch Nails influence as well. Part because, of course, industrial music, Nine Inch Nails, it kind of fits, but there's certain things that Trent Reznor does with rhythm a technique that's called isorhythm, where you may have multiple time signatures going on at the same time. So maybe one part is counting to 5, another part is counting to 7, and then the piece is actually in 4/4, but they're just kind of counting separately. So you end up with uneven measure lengths, even though the beats are the same. And for some reason, I just thought that would be really cool to experiment with on the automatons. And lastly, with the Illuminates, I looked at John Williams' War of the Worlds as one possible influence, but actually what I ended up doing was, at the time I was really into these TV shows, Netflix Dark and another show called Raised by Wolves. And these shows were both scored by a composer named Ben Frost, who had this really cool way of using strings and synthesizer textures to get this sort of otherworldly sound. And when I started the Illuminates, I really wanted them to stand out from the rest of the factions. I wanted to break away from the ideas that were already present. And all of the music up until that point had a lot of brass instruments. You know, even the Terminids, they had quite a lot of brass sounds to them, and especially the Helldivers type Super Earth stuff. So I said, all right, well, what if I don't have any brass at all? No brass, no woodwinds, and instead just do interesting things with string textures and processed vocals, and a lot of synthesis. Also, MIA was a big influence, believe it or not. The rapper and artist MIA, I really love her production style, and so there were some things that I kind of borrowed from that as well. And yeah, it all kind of came together with this weird hodgepodge of influences.
I love this. I love having those kinds of discussions too, because you made the description regarding the different rhythms on the same, generally different beats, but they kind of measure alongside each other. I feel like that's the sort of thing I never had the technical term for, but through playing lots of music games and listening to lots of music, I would come across those things and be like, oh, I describe it as like one thing goes boop, 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 another goes boop, 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 but basically timing it out. It's basically the layman's way of trying to describe something more technical and refined. But related to timing, were you given any specific timing constraints on tracks such as Hellpods Primed and No Diver Left Behind? For example, did they ask you to give us a Waiting to Escape track that lasts exactly 3 minutes?
Oh, I see what you mean. No, I mean, they gave like a vague time suggestion, but you could go over, or, you know, and that wouldn't really matter. The reason why is that the way that Sony does music for all of their titles, they don't actually have the composer write the actual assets that you hear in game. Instead, they'll have you write these kind of suites of music, and then they'll give like a vague direction of, oh, maybe the first 2 minutes should be kind of calm, and then the next 2 should be low intensity action, and then the final 2 minutes should be like a higher intensity action. And then you just kind of write it naturally, so it's going to have, you can have like intros and transitions and endings just as a natural free-flowing piece of music. But then when you deliver it to Sony, you don't just deliver like one big wave file, but instead you deliver what's called stems, which means like you'll have the woodwinds on a separate track and the brass on a separate track and percussion and synthesizers and so on. But with Sony, they like it to be extremely granular. Like they'll be like, this exact synthesizer has its own track. This, I don't know, taiko drum has its own track, and this gong has its own track. So that later on, they have a music editing team that can then create the in-game assets from these stems that you've delivered. And that lets them be a lot more flexible with the implementation. Like, for instance, if they decide, okay, let's have, let's have like a special theme for if Harvester shows up. Well, they can take little bits and pieces of what I've written and put that together and kind of assemble a cue for that moment. Instead of me having to, every single time there's some special thing, I'd have to redo it. It's obviously much faster to do a music edit than it is for me to write a completely new piece of music. And so this is how they're able to respond to changes in the game design and, you know, have lots of different elements that they're scoring.
So it's just kind of like a dynamic soundtrack.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's lots of different intensity levels. Like if you're running around in an automaton planet, and no one's really around, then it'll play a kind of ambient thing based on the type of planet that's going on. So if it's like a desert type planet, then it'll play one thing. But then if it's like an ice planet, it'll play another, and so on. But then once automatons are kind of close, but you're not actively engaged in battle, you might hear some like percussion stuff come in. And then once they engage in battle, then it'll go into a more intense combat. And then if bigger enemies, then it's even more intense, and so on.
Every time I hear automaton, I think of automatones.
Same here.
Mouth with hook.
Since we just kind of like jump around with our questions, I got a weird one I've always wanted to know. How does it feel to be nominated for an award that you lose to yourself?
I mean, so that was kind of funny. I mean, both the DICE Awards and the BAFTAs, it was weird. Like for DICE, we were carpooling from Los Angeles, and one of my fellow composers on Star Wars Outlaws actually drove me all the way from LA to Las Vegas. It was an awesome car ride. I mean, I'd never done that drive before, but hanging out with Cody was like just so cool. Then I'm seated with other Outlaws related people, and then like Helldivers gets called, and I'm like, oh, okay, be right back. And then we went up, and Johan joined us on stage. And then the BAFTAs, it was
drive back.
Well, the BAFTAs were much worse because actually Ubisoft paid for my plane ticket, my hotel. I was hanging out with the massive team the whole time, and I have a much closer relationship with the Ubisoft folks. And we were just having such a great time, and I'm seated next to all of the Ubisoft people at the theater, and then it's like Helldivers. I'm like, oh no. And the worst part is that I think that they were nominated for sound design as well. So we had a lot of the sound designers there, and well deserved, by the way. I think it's probably my favorite sounding game that I've ever worked on. I think the sound design team did such an incredible job on Star Wars Outlaws. But seeing them kind of lose twice. And then what's even worse is that the BAFTAs, they have like a dinner afterwards. So like I'm seated at the Star Wars Outlaws table with like 10 other people. And I have this like BAFTA award that's for a different game.
Well, you know what that means, right? Next time they contact you for more work, and they will contact you for more work, they're like, we're calling to contact you about, we're trying to get a hold of the Helldivers II composer. Like, yeah, that's me. Like, we want that guy specifically.
Oh, God.
Just imagine all at the table, and they're just like, hey, well, could you just like put that underneath the table for now?
No, they were nice. They were cool. They were like asking to like hold it and stuff for photo. It's very heavy, by the way. The BAFTA is astonishingly heavy.
Really?
Yeah, it's like pure. I don't know what it's made out of, but it's like it is a very heavy award on your soul, but also like quite literally. And then the DICE award is like a weapon. It's like sharp at the end. Like it's very strange, but they definitely they put a lot of money and effort into these statues. It's kind of shocking that that Helldivers won, not just one, but both. But obviously, I'm extremely grateful to both organizations for it.
Now, when you win the award, okay, go ahead, Aki.
Because I'm a terrible person, is it sharp enough to shake somebody with?
I think so, dude. It's like a Klingon.
I thought that
it's like a Klingon. I nicknamed it the Sarak because it's sort of like a Klingon kind of thing. You could just
scream it aloud.
That brings me great joy. Both the fact that it's sharp enough to shank a bitch, and also because you just spoke Klingon. I'm happy. I'm good.
I mean, fake Klingon, but it sounded convincing. So
yes, it did.
I'm wondering, when you win one of those trophies, like, do they mail it to your house, or do you have to like travel with that? And if you have to travel with it, like, what's baggage check like?
So with the BAFTAs, they just hand it to you and you just take it. which is kind of annoying because one of my co-composers like stole the BAFTA when I went to the bathroom or something, and I'm like, where is it? And he just absconds. He just leaves. And so I'm like walking all over the
get to the bar. Hey, ladies, have you seen my BAFTA?
I know, yeah. It's like kind of an awkward question to ask, but it's like, have you guys seen John anywhere? Like, yeah. But no, that one they just give it to you because they're all the same. There's no engraving. It's just like everyone just gets that same head statue. The Dice Awards. It was kind of weird. Like you go up on stage and they hand you this, thing, but it's unmarked. And kind of dull, and it's sort of like, okay, it's just this whatever. And then as soon as you go backstage after you've won, they like snatch it right from you. They just snatch it, like the joke about Michelle Obama stealing people's Halloween candy. They just snatch it right away. and then they explain that like, oh, we'll mail you the real one like in 2 months or so, because they do engrave those, which is it's really nice. I mean, they eventually mail it to you, and it says the game name and the Dice Award and all that kind of stuff.
Beautiful.
And that's the sharp one, right?
Yes. Yeah.
That's probably why they mail those, actually. So you don't have to go on the plane with a very sharp award that might get taken from you by the TSA.
That's fair.
You know what's funny? Like, sorry to tangent, but like, I went to this event. Like, it was like a marketing kind of announcement event for Mortal Kombat 11, right, in Los Angeles. I live in Seattle, but so I flew down to LA, Burbank Airport, and they gave out these like real, actual hourglasses made out of like metal and glass to some of like the VIP types. I don't know why I got one, but like they gave it to me, and it really does look like a time bomb. It looks like a cartoon time bomb. And I had to fit this in my luggage. And I go through, but it's Burbank Airport, so they're all this like, oh, just go right on through. Who cares? Like they're so chill there. It's ridiculous. But they definitely needed a second look at this freaking cartoon hourglass time bomb thing.
Nice.
It's incredible.
So in a general sense, like you were talking about winning your awards for the different soundtracks you did, but awards aside, what would you say is the favorite soundtrack that you yourself composed? What is your favorite composition?
Oh, that's a very difficult question because it's almost like, hey, which one of your kids do you love the most? It's like it's kind of awkward to say.
Clearly, it's the youngest one.
It's awkward, but there is one.
There is one, yeah. I mean, I looked back on a lot of older stuff recently, and there was a title called Anew the Distant Light, which was an indie title, made by just two people and then me doing the music. And I remember the project director, he's also quite a talented musician himself, and a big fan of 20th century art music, composers like Bartók especially. And he just said, look, all the stuff that you'd never be allowed to write for a AAA game, that's exactly what we want. And the game had this really quirky art style. It was like a 2.5D Metroidvania type situation. And so I basically said, all right, well, I'm going to write very challenging orchestral music, but I'm also going to use a lot of synthesizer, except the rule is I can't use anything that wouldn't have been possible after the year 1970 or so. That was kind of like the creative restriction. Because for some reason, it just had that kind of a vibe to it, the art style. And yeah, I mean, definitely all of my most challenging and bizarre music that I've ever written for a game is in this score. Unfortunately, the project went on indefinite hold, as it's so easy for indie games to reach this fate because it's just so hard to make anything, especially with a team of only two people. So unfortunately, it's unlikely that very many people will ever hear it. But that was definitely one of my favorites for sure. And then beyond that, I mean, I loved working on Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris because that was my first score after I'd worked at LucasArts. And so I had the energy of like, I got to prove myself as a freelance composer, all that stuff. But what was really cool is that I lived pretty close to Crystal Dynamics at the time in the Bay Area, in near San Francisco, and they literally just sent me home with a PC and they said, "Hey, knock yourself out, implement the music however you want. Here's our network, here's our game engine, and everything." They gave me tutorials on how to put stuff into the game, and so I could make so many different creative decisions that unfortunately later on, once I was working on more projects with more notoriety, it's much more difficult to have that level of creative freedom and a direct impact on the implementation of the game. But it was so much fun just writing music and seeing it come to life in the game, and really having a dialogue with the players directly. I think that's something that differentiates game music from film music, is that as composers, we can actually talk to the players, if you think about it. Like, for instance, I would have these cues, these little stingers that would hint at the player, like, hey, you just solved part 1 of a 3-part puzzle, but you're almost there. You're on the right track. I could have that kind of or even like if there's a difficult room that has like tricky enemies or a very difficult big puzzle, I could switch up the music just to say, hey, we're aware that this is supposed to be hard. Keep at it, keep trying. You'll get it eventually, but you're not stupid. Like, everyone is running up against this problem. So you could have that.
I don't
kind
know
of
about that. Some people just aren't very bright. I know I'm one of those people. We exist, I promise.
I have to say,
we're
I'm
so
glad
proud of her.
She does her thing.
Yeah, she does.
I gotta break things somehow, and it's usually because I'm doing something stupid. Because I'm stupid. And I'm okay with that.
Aki has a knack for breaking games. It is impressive.
Really? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I break games because I like to do things that you're not supposed to do on purpose, just to see if I can.
Nice.
We got to get Helldivers into your hands, Aki.
That game, it has existed long enough. I don't think I can break that game. I can just piss off everyone I play with by accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally, with a sadistic smile on my face, dropping payloads on my allies and the like. Totally by accident.
See, that's how you get kicked in Helldivers.
I would get kicked.
Helldivers
sure I've specified this.
Is PvE. You're a team, and they're you can hurt each other in the game.
Yeah, but being a little shit amuses me.
Okay, I'm not going to play with you.
It's me. Come on, it's me.
Yeah, remind me not to play with Aki.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah. I don't play co-op games or versus games for a reason. I am not a
Clearly. Oof. Ooh.
So how did you first get into LucasArts?
Oh, so yeah, that's a fun question. So like I was a member of an organization called the Game Audio Network Guild, or Audio Gang. And through that, I met the music director of LucasArts at the time, Jesse Harlan. And I also befriended a sound designer named Damien Kastbauer. We worked together on some like small indie projects that didn't see the light of day. But he's the one who encouraged me to go to the Game Developers Conference. At the time I lived in Philadelphia, so this was like kind of a big decision because it's like all the way across the country and all the money involved in travel and whatnot. But I did it, and through going to GDC, that's how I met the music director of Lucas, and we just had a nice chat. And the next year, I think, Damien got hired at Lucas as a tech sound designer. And they were working on the Star Wars Force Unleashed series, the very first one. And Jesse needed basically like a music assistant to help with music editing and music implementation. And so, he kind of said like, oh, well, you should reach out to Will in addition to all the other names that they were thinking of reaching out to. So yeah, I just interviewed for it and did a little music editing test, and then I flew over for an on-site interview, and they eventually hired me.
That's awesome. There's some nice LucasArts games on your resume.
Yeah, I was there for about 5 years, from The way we say it is from 2008 until the end, which was 2013 when like the Disney buyout and everyone, the studio shut down. But yeah, I worked on a ton of games. I mean, a lot of Star Wars games externally I worked on. A lot like, the Lego Star Wars series, Lego Indiana Jones, a lot of games by Chrome Studios who did a lot of the Clone Wars titles, like Clone Wars Republic Heroes and Clone Wars Lightsaber Duels, and a couple of handheld games as well. I think one of the Battlefront handhelds I worked very briefly on. I worked briefly on Soul Calibur 4 as well, because they had Star Wars guest characters that I needed to do like music edits and like help to, we got to play the game like a year before launch or so, because we got to review it and stuff.
That's awesome.
And then the Monkey Island remasters, I worked on both of those. The second one I was the music director of, so I was kind of in charge of handling all the implementation and budgeting, which was crazy. And then, my own game, I got to do Star Wars First Assault. I was the music director and composer of that one. Unfortunately, with the Disney buyout, the game was never released, but I mean, we finished the game pretty much. So I got to have that whole experience, scoring the game, coming up with the music system. We recorded it at Abbey Road with the London Symphony Orchestra, which was unbelievable. Our recording engineer was the same guy who recorded all of the Lord of the Rings movies as well, John Kurlander, and I ended up working with him on Star Wars Outlaws as well. So yeah, it was just an incredible experience working at LucasArts, and it was never a dull moment pretty much the whole 5 years I was there.
Damn, and they just shelved that game?
Yeah, it was very, very depressing, honestly. I mean, I worked incredibly hard on that project. In some ways, it's my favorite score I've ever done as well. Although I think I've matured quite a lot as a Star Wars composer since then. But there was a lot to that score. It's definitely the most involved interactive music system I've ever done. Like, it was a competitive FPS game, team-based, and we had this whole system where, like, based on the player's actions and the enemy's situation and all this stuff with your teammates and stuff, it decided when and where to play music in this really complicated but very very effective manner, that it just always felt like the right music was playing at the right times. I think more than almost anything else I'd ever done up until maybe Star Wars Outlaws, which was maybe 10 years more than 10 years afterwards. So yeah, I'm extremely proud of the team on Star Wars First Assault, for sure.
Peace. You have literally traveled the world attending award shows, conventions. What is the best party, and where does MagFest rank?
The best party? I don't know how to answer that question, honestly.
What's MagFest the craziest event?
Well, MagFest, I mean, obviously, MagFest is 4 days. You don't sleep at all. If you sleep at MagFest, you're completely doing it wrong.
True.
The room parties at MagFest, there's musical room parties that we used to do, where people would just go to a hotel room and bring whatever instrument and start jamming. They kind of put a stop to that because that's kind of annoying.
It's always Tosser.
Yeah, he would be involved. This is also how I put together the group for the Lara Croft game. It's how I found Kristen Nygus, who ended up being one of the foremost soloist performers in all of the video game industry. She plays 100 different woodwind instruments. It's also how I found Doug Perry, who's my percussionist for every game, and including Mortal Kombat, and I think he's on Helldivers as well, but Lara Croft as well. Mateus Souza, who's my violinist on, again, every single game. He plays on the themes of both Star Wars Outlaws and Helldivers. He plays electric violin on both of those, as well as a lot of acoustic violin on Mortal Kombat, and also basically everything. Lara Croft is what I was looking for. Sebastian Frey, I've met him at MagFest. He's my electric cello soloist. So I mean, like almost my entire roster, I met at random MagFest parties or room hangouts and things like that. And I've worked with them ever since. Just an outrageous amount of talent goes through MagFest. So there really, I don't think is a comparison necessarily.
I love MagFest. I can't wait until January. You going this year?
Yeah. We'll see. I'm kind of tired with travel, but I haven't been in a couple years, and so this might be a year to go back. We'll see.
Very cool. Anyone else have any questions? I feel like I'm hogging everything. Andy, any questions?
Pernell took my question, so
Pernell,
I can't think of anything right now.
That's when I do.
He does that.
Oh yeah.
Do you have any? You have like a wide variety of music you've mentioned and stuff you've listened to. What's like your guilty pleasure band you like to listen to?
Guilty pleasure band? I don't know. Let's check out the Spotify. I was in
got like Nickelback on there.
Yes, some Nickelback songs I like actually. Yeah.
Last
Day. I think Last Day is a really nice song.
Yeah.
They have very good production. I'm not a huge fan of the way that the main singer sounds. It's a bit much.
I hate his voice so
and
much.
Their lyrics aren't amazing, but it's good stuff.
But at least to look at that photograph, and that's really what matters, isn't it?
Look, let's see. I don't know. Like I've got some POD, some Crossfade in here. What else? I got some Kelly Clarkson, Oasis. Oh my gosh, I'm showing my age.
Is there
Deftones? I love Deftones though. I don't.
Nice. Is there any like new bands you've like discovered recently that really kind of like stand out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always very late to the party with bands. Like I didn't even discover Soundgarden until I moved here to Seattle in like 2014, 2015. But
same time I moved here too.
Yeah. But I mean, I really loved. I have a tendency to like bands for reasons that are inappropriate. Honestly, like I love Korn, but because I love them because of their use of non-harmonic tones. They have a very interesting way that harmony works in some of their songs, which I'm sure they're doing by vibe and by feel, but it's just really, really cool. Nirvana and Soundgarden, I love that grunge sound because they're not really using chords at all. The harmony is usually implied by the relationship between the melody and the bass line. So it's this very electric and very slim kind of harmonic treatment that studying that was actually vital for my Call of Duty score, because we wanted that to also kind of sound stripped down and, just every single note counts for something. Yeah, I mean, so like what might be new to me is probably not new at all. Like Crossfade is pretty new to me, but I'm sure everyone knows Crossfade by now. And Rai X as well, but I'm sure that everyone's known him, forever. And so, yeah.
I don't think many people really know Crossfade. I feel like they're such an unknown band.
I wouldn't even
really.
I wouldn't even put yourself in the thought process of wondering about who's heard what or whatever. Because at the end of the day, there's so much damn music out there that keeping up with most of it is a chore. So if it's new to you, it's new enough, and that's the go-to.
I got a related question.
Yeah.
Favorite guilty pleasure or like obscure video game soundtrack?
Ooh. Well, I mean, this shouldn't be obscure, but I really love Virtua Fighter 2 and 3 soundtracks.
Nice.
It's a fighting game, scores. I don't know. Let's look at my... I mean, like, there's some music from, like, Demon Souls that I still think is incredible. It's not really obscure, but you don't usually hear Demon Souls being listed as, like, favorite. But there's some beautiful stuff in that soundtrack.
Not even among Sakuraba's stuff.
Well, actually, Demon Souls was a different composer.
Oh, was that Koshiro or somebody? I forget.
No, who was it? It was Shunsuke Kida.
You got me. I haven't played those games, so I'm not I'm not an expert on those.
You know, I never played the game I'm about to mention, but Ragnarok Online 2 was scored by Yoko Kanno for some reason. She's my favorite composer, like, period, in the world. And yeah, like, no one played this game, but she wrote the music in, like, 2007, and then the game actually came out much, much later, to very little applause. But the music she wrote for that is incredible. I have no idea how they could afford her.
Nice.
The quality of the music is like through the roof, but and some just absolutely beautiful stuff in it too. But I don't know what the story is behind that.
I mean,
Death counts as obscure.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was a Ragnarok Online too. I only knew about the original game, so
which is probably the issue.
Yeah. So I definitely want to ask a goofball question too. I've been asking, techie questions and stuff all this time, but I gotta know because you're from the region. Big cheesesteak, what you do? What's your favorite?
Oh, I'm gonna get shot for saying this, but my favorite cheesesteak that I've ever had is San Francisco.
Hey, don't feel bad. Yeah. Don't feel bad. Could have been a transplant.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, dude, it's this one place in SF, right in the center of the city, called the Cheesesteak Shop. They fly the rolls, the Amoroso rolls, all the way from Pennsylvania every week.
That's the shit.
They have tasty cakes there, which if you know, you know.
Yes, I do. I know.
And it's just really, really great stuff. I mean, you can get a very traditional cheesesteak there. Usually, I'll get like a barbecue chicken cheesesteak, and it has that effect on you where the first bite you take and just your whole body just melts and you're like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever tasted. I have video footage. So, Mick Gordon, the composer of like Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal and Killer Instinct. So we've actually been friends for quite a while. And last Game Developers Conference, so like a couple months ago in March, he was like, hey, I'm actually in town, like, let's meet up. So I was like, oh, I want to show you something. So I introduced Mick to the Philly cheesesteak. He's Australian, so he'd never had a cheesesteak before. Ooh. And I was like, I'm like videotaping his reaction to the cheesesteak, and just this look of confusion on his face. It was like so amusing.
Well, did he? I'm assuming he very much enjoyed it after getting past the "what the hell is this" phase, right?
Oh yeah. But I mean, he's like a kind of fitness bro type dude, so I think that he could sense like this is streaming calories like crazy.
This will clog my arteries.
Yeah, which it will. He's not wrong. He is not wrong at all.
Sometimes you got
every picture I've ever seen of Mick Gordon, he's doing like a fitness guy pose.
Yeah.
So that totally tracks.
He was telling me like, oh, next GDC, let's find like a public gym and let's work out. And I'm like, dude, how do you have I got meetings and shit. Come on, man. Like maybe in the morning, but like I can't be wasting time in the gym. Like what the hell?
Some people are just good at waking up at 6 a.m. and I feel like they get into fitness because there's just nothing to do.
It's probably the Folgers they drink. Folgers coffee.
I'm an aggressive night owl to the point where sometimes my bedtime is like 10 a.m. And when I go like abroad, if I'm like visiting, like whenever I was visiting Ubisoft for Star Wars Outlaws, that's in Malmö, Sweden. I would always try to lift in the morning before going off to work, just because that helps with like staying awake, just get the blood flowing and all that kind of stuff. But GDC, I mean, me and my GDC roommate, we tried lifting, but like it's so hard to find a decent hotel gym anywhere in SF. So it's kind of a fool's errand to even bother.
Also, it's a pain in the ass.
Love it. Anyone else have any questions? I know we're coming up on an hour. I don't want to take up too much of your night.
I do have one more question, just because if we're coming up on the end of the interview, you always do the forward-thinking question. If you were able to pursue a future composition gig or job, what type of game or what franchise would you hope to be composing for?
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, I really would like to do more in the stealth genre. I mean, I love Metal Gear, I love Splinter Cell, and I would love to explore that more. We did a little bit in Star Wars Outlaws. That was a big part of the way that the game's overall system worked. Say again?
We can be friends now. You like Splinter Cell.
Oh,
we
awesome.
can be friends. That's one of my favorite series. I love stealth games.
My favorite is actually, I think, Splinter Cell Conviction on 360, and Blacklist Splinter Cell, which is the sequel, I guess the most recent Splinter Cell, was a huge influence on how I structured the Star Wars Outlaws music style. But yeah, I mean, Splinter Cell has always had such great music. Especially my favorite score of Splinter Cell is definitely Chaos Theory. It was Amon Tobin who did the score, and it's just such great music. But yeah, I would love to do fantasy for the first time. I've never really had a chance to do fantasy music, but I would love to do something. This is like kind of a vague reference, but there was a film from maybe 4 years ago called The Green Knight. And I loved the sound of that. Like it's as close as we'll ever get to like a From Software style movie, if that ever makes any sense. I guess there's another answer. From Software. I mean, I love all their games. I'm like a huge Bloodborne and Elden Ring fan, and Demon Souls too. So that's another franchise that I would love to be a part of.
I feel like your composition would make for a great boss theme in one of those games.
Oh, I mean, like, you know, those boss themes are so intense and so aggressively interesting. But yeah, I mean, I just saw that there was a James Bond game announced, and that I think more than anything else I'm looking forward to the point where it's like I would have loved to score a James Bond game, but the thing about scoring a game is that, like, I mean, the cat's out of the bag. You already know what happens in the story. You can't really enjoy it on the same level as if you were just a player. So I'm, in some ways, kind of happy that I'm not scoring that. But if they do another James Bond or something like that, I would love to do it. Or like if they do a Mission Impossible type game, you know, I just love those kinds of stories.
So what we need is some sort of fantasy stealth game. Just kind of combine it all into one nice juicy bowl.
Oh, they tried that, but then we got the Gollum game, and
oh god, I'm sorry for rehashing that.
I mean, to be fair, we also had the Styx games, and those were pretty good.
Yeah, the Styx games.
Just saying. Yeah.
Any projects lined up that you're able to talk about?
At this point, not really, but just launching today, like I mentioned, is the Helldivers II expansion. And I wrote a bunch of new music for that. We recorded in Nashville in February, I think, of this year. And so I'm very excited for everyone to check that out.
Very awesome. Andy, any final question on your end? Andy died. Chris, any final question on your end?
I'm good.
Aki, any final question on your end?
We need to be happy that I even had the words that I did use already, okay?
That is fair.
We're good.
She's like, fair. If you could stab someone with any award ever made, what would it be?
The DICE Award, for sure. You would never... The BAFTA would be good for like a Home Alone type puzzle where you walk in the door and it falls on your head. That'll knock you out cold. But active weapon, definitely DICE Award.
Guy goes to jail. He's like, I can at least say I got knocked out during a home invasion by a BAFTA award. Who else can say that in here?
My last question before we let you go. How does it feel having your music covered by someone like the Tiberian Sons?
Oh, I mean, I can't get over how relentlessly creative the Helldivers community is. I mean, it's astonishing, honestly. You know, people are doing entire albums of Helldivers inspired original music. There's so many different covers of like the main theme. I'm blown away. It's sort of like, what are you doing? Like, what? My music? Okay, sure. You know, like great, but it's just so strange to think that this game that. I mean, I don't know if people know this, but I actually finished writing the score like 5 years ago. And then, you know, It just takes a long time for them to develop. Yeah, Arrowhead doesn't rush themselves in a very good way. They like to make sure that everything is exactly the way it needs to be. And so, I finished it quite a while ago, and I almost kind of put it away because you don't hear from a client for 4 years and the game doesn't come out, so you usually assume the worst. But the game came out, and at first I thought like, okay, well, I'll kind of advertise this. I have some other stuff going on that maybe I'll be a little bit louder on social media about it. But, I'm very, very proud of what we did here, and hopefully it does all right. And then it turns out to be like the biggest multiplayer game of the year or whatever. And it's
did
doing
anyone expect it to blow up that way?
Funny enough, no one did, of course. I think everyone would have been perfectly happy if it sold maybe 1.5 million copies. But there were certain producers who kept the game alive, and they were like, no, you guys have something really, really special here. Do not compromise Arrowhead in any way. People on the Sony side, they're like, let them cook, let them do their thing, because they have something that's really going to make waves. And they were right, and we're very, very lucky to have those people supporting the game over at Sony PlayStation, as well as obviously the entire Arrowhead team.
And it's so good, it's ending console wars.
I know, that's something.
No, not ending them. It's putting them on hiatus.
Well, true, yeah.
That and
I was
Gears,
scared, honestly, when they announced
on the same day is so cool.
That has to have been engineered. There's no way that they must have collaborated on this. But no, like when they announced Helldivers coming to Xbox, I was like, well, we'll see how this goes, because Arrowhead had never done an Xbox game. The only reason why it's not on Xbox is that they've always done PlayStation games, even though they're not owned by Sony at all. They just happen to only code on PlayStation and PC. And so they're like, we're doing Xbox. And I was like, Xbox players are pretty, they don't like crap ports. You got to give them something really good, or else they'll get quite upset. But then it turns out that Nix's, which is a different studio, was handling the port. And they did a very good job. And, it's just about parity with like the PlayStation version, and the Xbox players seem to be having a great time. I'm very proud of the PlayStation and PC communities of Helldivers, because notoriously they're just being extremely welcoming to the new Xbox players, and giving them extra weapons and just all kinds of cool stuff, and carrying them through level grinding and sample grinding and super credit farming and stuff, just to make sure that everyone has a good time. I never would have seen this on I think any other game franchise fandom, but that's just the community that I think the game design has fostered with Helldivers. It's made people better than they would have been otherwise, and I couldn't be more proud to be at least a small part of that.
It really is one of the least toxic communities I've ever seen in gaming.
For sure, yeah.
It's all about that Liber-tea.
Indeed.
Yes.
Well, Will, I want to thank you so much for coming on, hanging out, and chatting with us. Where can people keep up to date with you and what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm on both Twitter and Blue Sky. It's just my name, Wilbert Roget, on both.
Very good. And we will have links to that in our show notes for the people who want to check you out. Will, again, it was a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to get you back on again in the future. We got more projects to talk about. Do you have any final words to end the interview?
Yeah, go check out Helldivers' new expansion, Into the Unjust. It's supposed to be really hard, so I hope you have a good team.
Preferably not Aki.
Yeah, no, or I could be on your team. You just aren't going to win. That's all. I'm just... Yeah. At least I'm honest about it, okay?
You like getting team killed, then join Aki's team.
All right, review time. Everybody ready to dive into these?
No.
No, tough shit, Aki. Yeah. You're first, so you're going to deal with it.
Damn it.
First game to talk about tonight is SHUTEN Order, developed by Nelio, DMM Games, and Tukio Games, published by Spike Chunsoft, released September 5th on Switch and Steam for $49.99. 168 remaining until the end of the world. Humanity is approaching its end. A sudden dismemberment murder of the leader of a religious nation that advocates an apocalyptic ideology. 5 adventure games are combined into one, centered around a suspenseful story full of mystery and intrigue. Aki, what is SHUTEN Order?
It is fucked up is what it is, and I love it. In this, you play as a young woman named Ray, and you've kind of sorta ate a big old bag of dicks and died. And now it's up to you to figure out who killed you, and you're pretty sure it was one of the ministers that worked under you. Oh yeah, by the way, you're also the founder and leader of a giant country-sized cult that are a bunch of doomsday people. Non-violent, though, thankfully. But you totally are like, I hope we all get to die soon!
Yay!
Yeah, not that I totally don't understand those feelings at all.
Button.
So,
Yay!
Yep.
There we go.
And,
right, Pernell?
Fucking yeah!
And yeah, this game, you have 5 different ministers, health, security, justice, science, and I don't fucking remember what. If I didn't actually say 5, I may have said 5. I don't know. I'm bad at this. And each one of the paths that you go down, and you do go down all of them eventually, changes the game. The game starts off as a point and click, and then you get to choose which one of the ministers you're like, I think this little bastard killed me, so I'm going to go down their route and see if they killed me or not.
There are
when
5.
You do that, you
the store page says the story branches into 5 distinct routes. It has the Ministry of Security, Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Science, Ministry of Education, and the Ministry of Health.
Education was the one I forgot. Big shocker.
Wait, we have a button for this one too. Hold on.
Oh fuck. Yeah.
I like that button.
Yeah. I don't like that one. Anyways. So you get to choose which one of the ministers that you're going to look into for this pathway, and you will die in it a couple times, which lowers the how many until the end of the world happens. It's all related to your deaths, or days, or some combination of both. Each one of the ministers that you choose changes the gameplay up. So, for instance, my favorite one is the Minister of Security, because it's a stealth horror game, and she's hot. So, of course, I was going to go that route. And, yeah. So, in hers, you actually get pulled into a not quite top-down view, but the angled version. I'm always bad at remembering what that's called. And
Isometric.
You're running... Yes, that. And you're running away from this killer that wears a mascot outfit that that minister is trying to find because they're part of the heretics. And y'all kill the shit out of heretics. And yeah, so you're running around trying to stay away from it, trying to not be seen by it. And that's the gameplay of that game, is doing that, solving little puzzles while trying to avoid it and the like. And then, for instance, the Minister of Education, their gameplay is, it turns into a visual novel, a romance, a dating sim, basically, where you're trying to get them a romance. And every last one of them changes the gameplay completely. So, I'm going to say this. So this is a unique game. I hate my life. Give me a second.
He said it. Unique.
Yeah, give me a second, you fucker. There, I wrote it and I said it. So yeah, because of this, there's 6 completely different style gameplays in this, and they all culminate into you figuring out who killed you, because you have to get them. You have to find evidence of it first and foremost. You've been dismembered, and you're in a temporary body. One of the pieces of your body is missing, so whoever has that piece, guess who the killer is? Exactly. So you need to find that. And then make whoever has it confess, and then you have to kill the shit out of them. And then you get to be revived, because you're on God's trial. Wait, no, that doesn't make sense. The SHUTEN Order, the cult that you created, you're supposed to be free of gods. You guys don't believe in God. You've basically said God's a cunt and gave him the finger. Why are you in the trial of a god to come back to life? Who are you praying to that gives you occasional superpowers when you need it? Something else to look into, maybe. Exactly. And, yeah. And that's the game. It's all sorts of fucking out there. All the characters on bombastic, crazy. The art style is very pretty. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. The only problem I've had with this game is that I started playing a demo right around the time I played this of a different game, and that game sucked me in a little bit more and became a serious problem to all the games I'm reviewing this week. So if it weren't for that, this would have definitely been like, this is my game, and another game came out and sucked me in a bit too hard, and it's like, oh geez. I need to put more time into this, because it is a very good game. You just have to understand that you're getting like 6-8 hours of random different types of gameplay, and you're gonna have to be okay with it, because you're sitting through 6 to 8 hours of it. You better get okay with that real quick, because you have to go through all the different paths to find the killer. So, yeah.
Content-wise, how rough is it? The Steam page mentions depictions of blood, graphic violence, coarse language, and drug use.
Okay, the drug use, one of the ministers is a drug addict, just outright. The Minister of Justice, and he just decides, hey, I'm doing this drug, so it's not against the law to do this drug anymore. Perfectly legal now. There are depictions of drugs being used to drug people and make them go on murderous rampages and committing suicide and the like. So, and it does not shy away from
happening.
That. Yeah, basically. So, you do get to see people obliterate each other and the like. You'll walk into rooms with people who are dead bodies just sprawn about, blood everywhere, glass everywhere, their eyes all ripped out. It does not shy away from things. It's pretty graphic. It's not realistic though, because these are all like metaphor and persona. It has a visual style kind of reminiscent of that. Yeah, so it's not like, oh, this is super realistic or anything, so.
All right, well, let's talk price on this one. It is on Switch and Steam for $50. What are your thoughts?
Spank its ass and buy it.
Did you say spank its ass?
And buy it, yes.
Jesus Christ.
What?
Hey,
how do you spank
some games
a game?
just need a spanking. I mean, you just you do.
You gotta spank. Just put the game on a USB drive. Slap the USB drive.
Exactly. Or you can smack your computer. I don't really care. You just spank its ass. It's great.
There you go.
But the other games don't deserve it. My tax forms don't deserve a spank in the ass. They didn't hardly.
But this game does. It deserves a glorious spanking, and it's going to like it too.
Okay. Enough spanking. For the size conscious, the game clocks in at 13.7 gig on the Switch and Switch 2. So, a little bit of a hefty one. Next game to talk about, the Riftbreaker, developed by EXOR Studios, published by EXOR Studios and Surefire Games. Originally released in October 21 on Steam for $29.99, and the 2.0 update just launched August 25th. The Riftbreaker is a base-building survival game with action RPG elements. You are an elite scientist commando inside an advanced mecha suit capable of dimensional rift travel. Hack and slash countless enemies, build up your base, collect samples, and research new inventions to survive. Andy, tell us about your time playing the Riftbreaker.
So, in a nutshell, Riftbreaker drops you into a mech suit, hands you a one-way ticket to a distant planet, and tells you good luck. Maybe slaps you on the ass along the way too, as Hockey would put it. But it's basically
Andy.
a few.
Do you think I really needed anyone's encouragement to be depraved? Please, it's me.
It is her. That's true.
It is her. But yeah, it's up to you in this game to build up a base for colonization, and that includes surviving against God knows what's out there on this planet. You're technically not alone in this endeavor, considering your mech suit can talk back to you. He's got a little attitude sometimes, but and of
so
course
it's like
the game,
Titanfall 2 then. Okay. Cool.
I've never played Titanfall 2, but yes.
You need to fix that.
I'll fix that just for you. Aki.
Good.
But the game itself has multiplayer options for up to 4 players, and it's campaign, survival, and it's also got sandbox modes, along with multiple difficulty modes available and unlocked. Some that are available right on the start, and some unlocked through gameplay. I played it on easy, and I can tell you it is really hard. It's like there's lots of enemies here, but you'll start off by exploring this alien planet called Galatia 37. It's just a distant planet in the Milky Way that's able to be inhabited. You'll discover resources that allow you to construct your main base of operations or the headquarters, which basically then allows you just to build other necessary buildings and then get upgrades from those buildings too. You'll need to harvest resources to build, so you'll harvest resources yourself through your mech suit, as well as build resource extractors. Then each building in your base needs power, so you have to build power in, sucking machines, something like solar panels, wind turbines, various power plants that run off local wildlife or fauna.
Jacob knows about sucking machines.
Yeah.
That's because he is one. Woot.
Got him. Boom roasted. But oh no, what's this? Your base is under attack? Oh, that's right. The local wildlife isn't super happy that you're trying to colonize their planet. So they're basically coming in to wreck your shit. This planet is teeming with life. And like I said, I played it on easy mode, and there's a lot of enemies. So basically, it's a good thing you got a cool sword in your mech suit. You've also got a blaster that help push back the enemies. The enemies kind of actually remind me of like the swarming Zerg in StarCraft, if you remember them. But new weapons abilities can be obtained through discovery. There's random points of interest that you can kind of do research on. And if usually those points of research summon a lot of enemies to your area that you have to fight. But if you make it through, sometimes you'll get like a cool weapon or a suit upgrade, or even like, a ton of I was gonna say experience, but it's like resources. So let's see here. There's also a pretty extensive research tree too. And then that includes like new weapons, new base buildings, a lot of upgrades for those buildings, and even like some alien technology there. There's only so much you could do in your main base though, and so you've got to leave your base and explore these strange signals across the planet. And since you'll be exploring, discovering new resources, and fighting some new enemies, you're going to have to outfit your main base with some defenses, some walls, some sentinel towers, an acid trap here or there, those types of things. But then things get a little more interesting as you progress and build something called an orbital scanner, which basically is a giant machine that allows you to jump to entirely different biome locations across the globe in search of new resources, production materials, and also deal with new threats from the local wildlife. These are usually accompanied in the campaign mode, at least by like some type of mission to check out this strange seismic activity, or like research this specific plant, or check out this animal. And then all in all, gain knowledge about the planet you're colonizing. So this is like the basic gameplay pattern, kind of rinse and repeat, pushing towards getting your ass off the planet. I would say it's like somewhere between like a mix of strategy, base building, tower defense, and a lot of like hack and slash action against the extreme amount of enemies on the planet. The game itself runs pretty smooth. It looks amazing. I think the new update came with multiplayer mode.
Yeah,
unfortunately I wasn't able to try out.
4-player online co-op now. Features an expanded endgame campaign, new creatures, a randomized mission generator, reworked loot system. There's just a bunch of adjustments and fixes in this, and it's cool to see that 4 years after launch, they're still working on this game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it shows. The game itself like runs really smoothly. It looks beautiful too, by the way. Like I don't know. I've been wanting to play some kind of like RTS lately, you know, and I was thinking about going to like they did like a remaster of Warcraft 3. So I was like, maybe I'll dabble in that a little bit. But this kind of scratched that itch, and then also had like enough action in it too, where I wasn't just like building and then sending troops like around. Like you actually control the mech, and so you're running around and you're fighting guys yourself, which I thought was really cool. I personally don't play a lot of games like this, and this was all mapped out as like mouse and keyboard. So I had a little trouble with the mapping at first, learning the controls. It was just me, you know, like user error, you know. But I figured it out like fairly quickly, and then it was pretty smooth. But one of the gripes I had with it was like I kind of questioned how certain buildings worked. And there was a few that needed maybe a specific resource, or you had to set this up here and go over there with it, you know, or even like there's a couple that there's multiple buildings that kind of interact with each other and then have to connect to another one. And I just wasn't sure like what they did. And so I was hoping maybe in a future update, and this is, I don't like to like shit on games or anything like that. So I always try to find like some kind of like improvement, but maybe in like a future update, if there was like, hey, this is how these buildings work together, or this is how this all connects, you know, so that you kind of know moving forward too. Because I set a couple and I was like, all right, this is cool. But then what I felt like it was supposed to do wasn't what it did. And then I was just confused and I had to sell it. So it was whatever. But yeah, that's pretty much Riftbreakers, dude.
Very good. Well, let's talk price on this one. It is $29.99. There are 3 different expansions available as well. Those clock in at $10 each. Everything's on sale right now. The expansions are going for $7, and the game until the 8th is going for $13.49 on Steam. $30 though. What's your verdict on this?
So 4 years later, and they're still pumping out content for it, and they're still working on it, which I think is really cool. I'm somewhere in between, like try it out and buy it. Because I think it's really fun. I'm actually going to try the multiplayer mode tonight too. So
very good.
I'm really excited for that because I got a couple of friends that really like these types of games. So maybe they can kind of guide me in some areas, but yeah, I think it's cool. I like it. And especially if it's on sale, you know, why not?
Indeed. If people want to hear more about the game, Jacob talked about the Heart of the Swamp expansion back on episode 998. And then for those who have been with us for a very long time, their previous game, X-Morph Defense, we had Powell from EXOR on the show way back on episode 312. Oh, I'm so old.
Damn.
All right. Andy, you sticking around or you heading out?
I'll probably head out, but I'll keep you guys lurked up.
Cool. Sounds good. Next
Appreciate you,
up,
dudes.
Quartet, developed and published by Something Classic Games, released August 26th on Steam for $19.99. A series of train robberies leads to evidence of a government conspiracy. A mysterious deck of cards gives a young girl a vision of another world. A fleet of deadly airships burns a path across the Imperial frontier. The world's unlikeliest hero manifests tremendous magical power. These stories intertwine in the world of Quartet. Before it's all over, the 8 heroes will uncover how a secret, centuries-old conflict literally reshaped the world. Then they will have their own decision to make about the destiny of magic. Pernell, what's Quartet?
So Quartet is a game that I'd been following for a good, I feel like at least been 2 years now, because it's been 2 MagFest minimum that I've seen it being displayed there, and I've been anxious to get my hands on it. So I'm glad to see that it's finally in our hands and I've had a chance to play some of it. And my genuine take on it is that it does what I hoped it would do. I'm just throwing it out there earlier as opposed to later. What this game does is it does the ensemble piece narrative that we come to know originally from games like Wild Arms, where main characters are brought in on their own individual adventures, where they may meet, all of them meet a specific companion that becomes their overall partner character. And then once all 4 stories are played through, as you choose one at a time and play through the individual stories, they eventually all come together for one, ensemble piece, one fantastic full team adventure. And it's interesting in how the game does it, because I've been playing a lot of RPGs in all my life really, but also in recent months and in the last year. And they all seem to have the thing where there's a lot of customization involved, where you have to determine what your party's skill points are going to be invested into, or what items you're going to equip to eventually learn skills and blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm talking about. But this game goes back to the traditional roots aspect of RPG gameplay, in that your characters learn what they're going to learn, and they specialize in the way that they're going to specialize. You do get the ability to purchase equipment for these characters, weapons, armor, hat, helmet, and 2 accessories. But other than that, it's what they gain from leveling up and developing their own personal stats. Combat in this game is turn-based. You're behind the back view. Think Mystic Quest, with your foes facing you. And there's I don't want to call it ATB system, because it's literally not. It's turn-based with the actual flow of turn order displayed for you, so you can actually use that to make strategic choices, or hopefully do things like manipulate speed of the opponent or yourselves. On a player's turn, they can choose between attacks, magic attacks, defending. Though one thing that this game does differently in regards to combat is you don't have an MP gauge for your magic or special skills. Instead, it uses a AP percentage gauge. So it's always 100%, and skills always take a percentage of that. So what that means is that you don't get the situation in a lot of regular RPGs where a spell might start out feeling pretty expensive, but then you get up with 999 MP and suddenly a powerful spell is dirt cheap. In this game, 50% is always 50%. And you need to plan around that. However, every turn you do get 10% of your AP back, regardless of what you do. And your defend command in this game is unique for every character.
Unique.
In that, there it is. You will get a bonus AP gain when you defend, in addition to what you normally gain. But you might also get a type of buff, like it might be a strength increase, or a defense increase, or a magic defense increase, and yada, yada, yada. You know what I'm talking about. So there's a lot to play with there. And then best of all, in my opinion, it does kind of what Final Fantasy X did, in that once you get your entire ensemble together, you have them all available at any given time, and you can switch between them at any given turn with no consequence. So if you're fighting an enemy that is weak to water elements, and none of your current party members have access to water elemental attacks of any kind, you can just wait till it's the turn of your least effective party member at the time, swap in the water character you want to use, and then bam, they just do their thing. And experience is still gained regardless of whether you're in the front or back row, which is fantastic. Music in this game is a gem. I appreciate it. I like the graphic style in this game very much because it's nostalgic. It harkens back to the days of Super Nintendo with a little light dose of PS1, more so Super Nintendo, though, by far. And which is my era of choice, by the way. Wink,
yeah,
wink, nudge,
buddy.
nudge. And yeah, man. And it even has a kind of an overworld that kind of reminds me of like how Chrono Trigger did it with a very tiny sprite character, kind of bumping into little buildings and such like that. It hits all the notes, and the music is very good too. I've been enjoying all the soundtracks, though early on when I started playing this game, I was worried something was up because I was playing on the Steam Deck. I booted the game up and there was no music, and I wasn't sure if it was like a patch that needed to get made, but it turned out it just seems to happen to me sometimes. And when it happens, I'll reset the Steam Deck, boot the game up, and more often than not, it'll have music all of a sudden. So I don't know what the cause of that is. But if it happens to you in the event you buy this game, which you should, by the way, just know that it's an easy reset and try again, though hopefully the developer, if they're hearing this, can go forth and maybe figure out the why and make it so that it never happens regardless. The writing is very good for this game. I actually appreciate all the characters. I love the hippo, the magic hippo. I do kind of hilariously chuckle at the thought of said hippo walking across various structures and them not collapsing. So I just kind of tell myself, it's a pygmy hippo. It has to be. But either way, I think the hippo is awesome. And I like the traveling chef Ben. He is clearly the comic relief character of the bunch. And he's just a man trying to collect a check. He's just trying to keep his bills paid, and I appreciate that. In a world of magic and mystery, this man just needs to pay his bills. Respect. This game, I'm not going to talk my head off about it because it's not doing anything that's, aside from the things I mentioned, it's not doing anything that is outside of the book or whatever. It's doing what you're familiar with. But that's also what I think makes it work. It has quality writing, quality music, quality gameplay. It doesn't do anything out of the norm, but sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want something that feels familiar and comforting. And if they weren't going for that, then I apologize for saying that they did, because they did. So that is my take on Quartet, and I'll let you do your thing when you ask me my fun question.
No, you already said it yourself like 4 times during the review. We even have to ask.
Well, if I didn't... Yes, you do. Tradition warrants it.
Yeah, $20. What's your verdict?
An absolute buy it of a game. I do believe if you're a fan of classic RPGs, particularly JRPGs, you really can't go wrong with this one. Just don't expect it to be something that's going to bat outside the box that you're already familiar with.
Sounds good. I hope it's coming to console. Looks really good.
I wager if it makes enough money on Steam, it will.
Fingers crossed. Next game, The Nameless Slay Dragon, developed by the Nameless Epic, published by WhisperGames, released August 28th on the Switch for $17.99. Exploration is as important as combat. Observe, listen, think, communicate, act. You need to use all possible skills to find your own path. Adventures are not only full of choices, but often require a bit of luck. The Nameless Slay Dragon is like a mix of CRPG and JRPG. In short, how to slay the immensely powerful and cunning evil dragon? Chris, how do you slay the immensely powerful and cunning evil dragon?
I'm not sure, but you sure do get the opportunity to ask like 20 different people. The first town you go into, a dialogue option appears that you can use or not use, and it's, do you know how to slay a dragon? Any tips you can give me on slaying dragons? And, people will have different answers, none of which are just, here's how to do it.
I mean, straight to the point.
So yeah,
right?
it is. It's a mystery that needs to be resolved. Okay, so yeah, the Nameless. Wait a minute. Yeah, the Nameless Slay the Dragon. It's it's an unwieldy title. Yeah, this is an interesting take on kind of a classic dungeon crawler style RPG, but also a little bit of not even like a visual novel, but it's like it feels like what a like if you were to do like a real like Dungeons and Dragons with like, you know, real people kind of situation, right? So it's like, you know, you don't see the dice or anything like that, but you move around a board, you move around like a map instead of walking around. You're just choosing places to go. And when you go to that place, then it's just like, okay. And, you know, then it's like, here's the situation, you blah, 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 you know, you know, it's the city is dark and a guard calls out, "Hey, you, what are you doing late at night?" And, you know, you have the option of running away from the guard or talking to the guard or fighting the guard. And so, you know, you'll hover over each one of those options and it'll calculate the percentage of a chance you have at succeeding based on your stats and your character type, even things you've previously done. The amount of knowledge maybe that you have about the situation can kind of help. And then, you know, you choose your option and it'll, or, you know, some of them are just kind of automatic, like an automatic like success in what you choose. Sorry. And so let's say you choose to fight. Well, that puts you in a fight, so you got to fight the guard. You can choose to run, and that may be the story option, so it'll just let you run. But if you go to talk to the guard, you may have like this 50% chance of convincing the guard to leave you alone or doing something else. And so, you know, as you make these choices, new spots on the map open up, and then you can travel to those. You could choose between two of them. You can, you know, ignore things if you prefer. And, you know, you just kind of, every time you tap on a thing, you're going to be making some kind of choice or learning something about like the story, the characters. You have other characters in your party who talk to you. The way you interact with them can build rapport or even push them away from you. And everything affects the story in little ways, although a lot of the major events are a little bit fixed that I know of. The game does feature multiple endings, and they do advertise that no ending is locked out of the first playthrough. So there's not like, here's the secret ending if you beat it 5 times, you know, and do everything perfect. Yeah, it's like if you want your perfect ending, you can get it your very first time through. You'll just have to kind of feel your way through and luck out. For me, I just like to go with the flow and see, you know, I'll just choose an option that sounds like the character I have in mind, and then we'll see what happens. And I, for the purposes of review, started 2 different games. So yeah, you start off with your main character. He is a kind of a blank slate. He's the only survivor of his village being attacked by a dragon. A dragon burned down several villages in the area, you know, because you can go and walk around the ashes of them if you want. Once you have a couple of story beats under your belt. And so he doesn't, you know, it's kind of like his entire past is up to you in dialogue choices and things like that. You can kind of just decide who you are. You also get to pick from, I think it's 3 different branching skill paths. So you can kind of choose to be a more, kind of a darker character. You know, you start off with a class literally called Dark Knight, that you were born in tragedy and you know, bad things follow you. You could choose to be the kind of heroic but anonymous adventurer who has to start from the bottom and, you know, climb his way to the top. And you could choose to be a thoughtful and, you know, inquisitive mage type of character. You know, different things like that. And these are, like I said, going to determine how well you're going to pass certain dialogue checks, and therefore it's going to kind of guide you through the game as to, you know, because you're going to choose options. You're most likely to choose options that not only fit your archetype, but also have a bigger chance of succeeding. So yeah, you choose your character, you choose his name. His default name is Ham with 2 M's. So the 2 characters I created an adventurer, like just a blank slate adventurer guy. I left his default name Ham. And then I started as the Dark Knight character, and I named him Evil Ham. So, and I had the characters of Ham and Evil Ham like kind of branch out in different ways. And yeah, it's like just to kind of see how
Evil Ham went the good route and Ham
almost. Well, like I made the adventurer guy more brave and scrappy. So, when the guard goes to say, "Hey, you," and what's all this then I choose to fight him just unprompted. Evil Ham, I had him run away, and like I kind of there was a lot more sneaking around and like just being kind of rude and stuff like that, and like I said, just making different choices. And yeah, like I said, it's on top of it having these choices to make and to get through these different areas and like learn the story, like I said, every time you move, there's more story to uncover. So there's lots and lots of story in this game. It's very book-like in that way. There's also spots that you go where you just get into a battle. And if you go back to that spot, you can repeat the battle. And of course, this is a first-person wizardry style battle system. So, you can choose to fight, use an ability, item, magic, if you got it, run away or, do whatever. And the game has a lot of difficulty options on how these battles are going to play out. So not only do you have the general difficulty setting, say you can set it to an easy mode they call fairy tale, because they say that, everything is all right at the end, right? So it drops the enemy's stats by a lot, and if you die, you get to continue still. You miraculously always survive with like 1 HP, and you can just move on from a battle if it's too hard. And then they have like the normal mode, which is more, if you die, you gotta start from a save or whatever. But because you can save this, I actually thought this was going to end up like more of a roguelike situation. Just from the way it was presented. But no, it's the same adventure every time, and you can save any time on the map. Like I said, you can make that more difficult. You can also make it nightmarishly difficult, where your enemies have double stats and you have less, which is akin to like legendary difficulty on Skyrim, which is my favorite difficulty, by the way. So I like a hard game sometimes, but for this one, I just kind of waffled between, because you can change it anytime. I waffled between normal and easy just to get more content in. But not only do you get to choose that, you have a couple of different options you can choose from a list that add and subtract different challenges. So you can make it to where you get more, you can get more of a certain kind of point, or like you can add a skill that like lets you, do something really convenient, but it reduces the amount of dragon points that you get, which dragon points are essentially how you gain levels in your job, like not your overall level, but your, if you need 10 dragon points to become fighter level 2, right? And then fighter level 2 will have a specific skill that you can use and, extra skill points. And you can just willy-nilly like put points into any job that's available. You unlock jobs through the story. You start with 3 and you can unlock more. And yeah, you can just spend your dragon points however you want. It's not like it's not like you have to specialize or you can't do anything, or you can just kind of spread it out however you want, just whatever appeals to you, really. The game's very good about not wanting to waste your time. And in fact, they do stress that grinding is not necessary for the game, but they still have it as an option. So but yeah, so it's like basically that kind of gameplay loop. It's just going to spots on the map, reading stuff, talking to people, making decisions. Decisions affect the story and ultimately the ending, and then you just get to do it all over again with as many hams as you like.
All right, well, is this ham worth $18?
I'd say so, yeah. I mean, I'm a little, I appreciate that they have like pre-written characters. I kind of would have liked a little bit more main character customization, like maybe a female protagonist or something like that. But it really, you're ham guy. As far as I know, like I couldn't find any other option. But I really like the story they're presenting. I like how it's so open. But like once you kind of get into it, it's much more well told than you would think. Like it doesn't have a cliche story, but it does start in this like kind of blank slate way. So it's a really interesting way of telling a story, and that always to me makes for a recommendation on an RPG. Plus, I actually really like the battles. I didn't mention, but they give you like these what they call sparks, which are things that you can use to augment skills that you already have. So if you have a skill, you can add, also it restores your health to some degree, or something else. Like you can yes and like your own skill set. Like it's got things like that. Like it's really, really cool in that way. And so yeah, I'd say this is a definite buy it because it's got a lot of great ideas. The only real problems I had with it, besides that, like I said, the main characters has to be a male, is that it's, just got little things like spelling errors and some grammar errors throughout, but, it's readable. It's fine.
Cool. And for those wondering about size on the Switch, 3.4 gig. So
that's not bad.
Next up,
it's got great music. So
does it?
Yeah, it's got really good music. I like it.
Nice. All right, next up, Otherskin, developed by Game Atelier, published by FDG Entertainment, released September 2nd on Steam for $29.99. Join Alex on her deadly solo mission to expose the mysteries of Planet Vandermeer. Experience a truly transformative third-person shooter and absorb organic abilities to expand your combat and movement capabilities beyond anything you've seen before. The entire universe is at stake. Aki, did you let the universe down? I'm guessing you'd let the universe down.
Just a little bit. It was more fun that way.
Called it.
I'm a terrible person. I admit to
What's
it.
Otherskin?
Okay, so you play as this young woman who has been jettisoned off to this planet to hopefully survive at least a few minutes there and get some information back, because there's some sort of weird corruption that kills people when they go to that planet, and that is well known, and they keep sending people to that planet even though they die within minutes, because I guess that's one way to solve the overpopulation problem, I guess? I don't know. So you're provided this brand new nifty suit that will hopefully keep you alive for a little bit. You're definitely going to die on this planet. It's going to happen. You're going to get corrupted and you're going to die. But maybe you can get some information back to home planet or some shit. So, yeah, there's a little bit of problems. The ship gets infected and crashes, and you have to make an escape via the escape pod. So you're definitely going to die on this planet because you don't have a way off it anymore. Fuck my life. Well, it's a good thing you have this little AI system, and you can use a gun, and you have a cool suit, and you're going to die. It's great. So you very quickly start killing off the infection where you can, and you find some infected animals, and you kill them because they're attacking you, because they're corrupted, and, well, tough titties, I guess. And you find almost immediately after that, there's something weird hanging around in the air. You walk over, you absorb it, and oh shit, did I just get bug wings from this bug that I just killed? What? I get to fly around now. Woohoo! This is awesome. Can't really fly, but hey, I can jump super high and it allows me to glide a little bit. That's pretty cool. Earlier, I could jump and fall like a bitch. This is great. And there's your new special power. Because you were corrupted and the suit was trying its best to keep you alive, it ended up somehow augmenting your genetic structure by merging you slightly with the corruption in order to save you from the corruption. And now you're able to absorb the corrupted beasts into you, and it changes some of what you are, allowing you to use some of their abilities. So with giant blood flies, as said, you get some wings that appear on your back, and you can do super jumps and glide around, and it's nice and cool. There's also, like, you get a frog, and when you absorb it, you're able to shoot your tongue out really far and use it like a grappling hook, and that's disgusting when you actually sit and think about it, but it's a cool mechanic. And there's a whole bunch of other little beasties that you get to find. And you're trying to outrun and destroy what you can of this corruption to just get whatever you can back to home base, and hopefully your own ass back to home base would be nice too, but we'll see. So you eventually run away from this gigantic flood of corruption into this alien ship. They know what these aliens are, not necessarily because they've ever met one, but they know of them because they found their structures in other places. And they were apparently maybe fighting against the corruption too at one point, and lost badly. So you find this little hub world, basically, and from it you get access to little portals that send you to different places on the planet. All of these places are basically their own little level. They have a certain amount of collectibles that are in them. You can replay them over and over as you see fit. You can use them to farm upgrade points in order to upgrade your various weapons and abilities, to which there are a bunch, and they're expensive little bastards. And yeah, you're just going around from little place to little place, solving it, opening up the next one, and eventually raising up to the next floor of this building until you eventually get yourself to the end of the game. What happens to you, I'm not telling you. Mostly because I don't know, because I haven't finished it, but...
No, I would hope you wouldn't spoil the ending anyway.
I might. I'm kind of a shit. So yeah, you every level doesn't give you the same abilities either. So, like the very first area that you're in, you get access to the frog and the botfly, for instance. Second level, you don't get access to a frog. You do get access to the botfly again, but you get access to another creature instead. And I think a third one event. Yeah, and you get access to 3 of them in the next level, and you have all of their abilities at the same time. So it's not like, oh, I need this for this little bit, and now I'm going to switch. No, you have access to all 3 of them once you've obtained all 3 of them. So the only problem is, once you go back to the hub world, that stuff is absorbed out of you in order to grow this weird tree thing, which is helping eradicate the flood of this corruption that has completely overtaken this planet, more or less. So every time you go into a level, you have to reobtain whatever they have there, and it's only whatever's in the level is all you got, which is kind of sad because some of the abilities are really damn cool. And yeah, you get access to some weapons, to some fairly basic abilities, like you get access to the ability to dash, for instance. That's something you have to unlock. You get access to alien weapons that end up being like basic weapons, like the first one you find is a shotgun, basically, versus your little shitty pistol. So yeah, it's an interesting game. I like the visuals. All the different locations you go to are completely different looking from each other, and they have completely different feels to them. And because there are different creatures in there that you get to absorb into yourself, there's a lot of different ways to traverse different areas and a lot of different abilities you get to see. It's really cool. I really liked it.
You mentioned bot flies, and the only thing I could think of Do you know the Paramore song, Still Into You?
Yes.
I should be over all the butterflies, but I'm into you. Should be over all the bot flies, they're inside you.
Yuck. Yuck. Yuck.
Yeah. I ruined that song for a lot of people. I should be over all the bot flies, they're inside you.
I approve. Anyways,
$30 verdict.
I'm okay with that price. This is a decently length game, and if you're trying to actually do all the upgrades, it's going to take you a few replays of at least a handful of levels. So yeah, that's a good price for this, I think.
Cool
I'm totally for
beans. All right, next up, Fresh Tracks, developed and published by Buffalo. Released August 26th, Series X and S, PS5, and PC for $24.99. Jump, dodge, and fight to the rhythm of the gods in this thrilling music action game on skis. Take on obstacles and menacing enemies as you ski further into the darkness as befallen the snow-covered land of Norwin. Pernell, what is Fresh Tracks?
So Fresh Tracks is a game where you play as a character whose goal is to reunite get support from and reunite all the gods before taking out the final negative evil god. And this is done somehow by way of skiing through a rhythm action game. The way this game functions is that at the beginning, you will start out skiing down a track. During this track, you will have formed a pact with your starting god. And this starting god will be your narrator / interpreter for your experience. She'll say various things regarding the lore of the environment you're skiing through and the world you live in. And as this is happening, music will be playing. Think of it as a rhythm game in that sense. Objects will be moving and images will be appearing to the beat of this music. So you'll be skiing. There will be multiple tracks that you can jump between. And your emotions will involve a number of different things, such as shifting to the left or right, kind of like tilting your skis. You'll be able to swing a sword in a direction that you flick your right thumbstick. You can jump and double jump. You can duck. And you can also generate enough energy by attacking objects to the beat, because there is a rhythm to that, specifically objects like trees and adversaries, where the game will display an arrow that when flicked white, you want to hit to that rhythm to indicate, I did a good job, I'm on the beat, hot diggity. If you fill this gauge up by doing that enough times, you can press in the right thumbstick to trigger your rhythmic ability. And that varies based on, I believe, the god you're using. It might also be the weapon you're using. But I stuck with the one that lets me heal, so I really don't care. Healing is key, baby, and I ain't want to mess with nothing different. In fact, yes. So anyway, as you are going through this process, you are trying to collect a few things on the map and also not die in general. There are like melody icons where you can collect those and use them as a currency to spend at merchant shops that will appear during your routes on occasion to purchase side buffs that will allow you to have a little bit more, different effects that can affect your gameplay, such as your rhythmic gauge charging faster, or giving yourself like an additional jump. Another way that you can get these same things, by the way, is by way of which route you choose at the end of a stage. If you manage to survive and get to the end of a level, the game will, without stopping, by the way, it's very seamless and I like that, it will present a series of alternate routes you can take. The routes will be represented by the name of a song, being the song that will play when you're on that route. And they will also tell you the difficulty of that song. So think of it like any traditional rhythm game, like a Guitar Hero, Rock Band, yada, 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 and that each song actually has multiple difficulties. And depending on what they decide to generate for that route, that will be the difficulty you're being faced with. It will also show you the rewards you'll get by undertaking that route. It could be currency, it could be some heals, it could be a new ability / side buff, and you need to decide before you reach the point where the road forks. Unlike a lot of games of this type, though, not necessarily like the music games, but roguelike style, the reward that you get for choosing the route is actually presented to you at the beginning of it, not the end, which is kind of cool. So it's basically saying if you need to get that heal, might be time to take that heal route and just suck it up. You're not going to get the free upgrade or whatever. But once you've done that, the road will fork off in that direction. You'll get your reward, and another level will commence at the difficulty that you chose at the song that you're listening to. Eventually, you'll get to a boss level. Boss levels are great, but they're also a pain in my absolute ass because they are very, very tough. When you get to the boss level, the god you're encountering will be speaking to your god, having a full-blown conversation with them while you are skiing. And things get a little rocky. The music that plays is very much in tune with the style that actual god is accustomed to. And you will have to get through that course without dying in order to recruit that god to your team. These levels are actually, at least in my opinion, longer than the actual normal levels. So prepare yourself for a war of attrition, rather. If you manage to complete the level, the god's like, yo, bro, that's real awesome skiing. Can I roll with you? And you'll go, of course, because I'm trying to get you to help me anyway. And the game will kick you back to the beginning where you can go again. But now you can choose between either the gods you've had before or this new god. What does the choice of God mean? Well, the choice of God determines the actual music that you'll be faced with on the routes you can do, which in turn will also change up the way the levels look and the obstacles as well. Because while those obstacles will be countered or abated using the same methods you've always used, they will look different, be presented to you differently, and may adjust and affect how you decide to play those levels or how you're able to adapt to those levels. So it's still very cool. Most importantly, though, the actual god will narrate your route going forward as opposed to the god you had before. So it's like every level feels new, not just in the look and presentation, but the god narration and the music, because they affect the music that will play on the levels, the way the levels look, and the upgrades you can get on your run. It's actually a very cool system in that regard. Though, at the same time, if you happen to be unlucky and die frequently, well, you're going to hear the same music quite a bit. Get used to it. But on the positive, all of the music in this game is legit, and it has a pretty decent variety of music. It's mainly based on the god you choose. So again, early on, if you die a lot, you're going to hear that same kind of like, how much did you want? You'll hear that a lot. You're going to hear it a lot. So just accept that. But then once you start getting new gods, you'll start to get a little bit more variety in your system, and it'll feel great. If you die, unfortunately, though, you will always go back to the beginning. There's no stopping that train. So, fortunately, if you find yourself thinking, if only I could practice that level and get better at it, well, there's an actual option to do that, where once you've unlocked a stage, you can go and practice to your heart's content until you get it right. And some people might want to do that to save themselves lots of headaches. I didn't do that. I had hours of headache, but it was worth it because I enjoyed myself. Worth mentioning before I wrap up, in addition to the upgrades that you'll get while doing level runs, you also gain access to some upgrades, or rather just like run configuration items, by collecting another resource that can be spent at the shop. Not the one that you can on normal runs, but when you go back to the main hub, there's a shop there that you can spend upgrades on to get like new skis and like new swords and stuff like that. And they all come with their own various perks that you can equip for your runs. Overall, the only complaint or gripe I have about this game, which will affect other people, but may affect you differently from me, is that I wish to high holy hell that they came up with a way to adjust the way they determine the lean markers and the duck markers. Because for full disclosure, I play poppin' music, I play Guitar Freaks, I play lots of rhythm games at pretty decently high difficulty. So it's not that I'm not familiar with hitting those two beats very quickly in succession. The issue I have, though, is that you're coming from the front of the screen into the screen, and the game will stack stuff up behind itself. So there might be a pillar, and behind the pillar is an item, behind the item is an enemy. And that's one of the easier things, because you're like, okay, swipe. But let's say there are 5 trees lined up against each other, and you have to knock them all down in succession. That means you can't see the next tree until you destroyed the first tree, which you're not going to destroy until the very last minute, because you're hitting the tree to the rhythm of the song. So your reaction time better be really on point, even on the easiest difficulties. In addition to that, when you have a sequence of these like very thin, very yellow, not even very yellow, very faintly yellow pillars, and they eventually will go straight, right, lean left, and they go down, lean down, but also go right. It's like they start to bleed together. And eventually I was having moments I was like, well, crap, I can't tell when it changes. And I have to do it so fast that I'm getting screwed. In fact, that's the main thing that made it harder for me to progress when I was trying to. I would have gotten through this game way faster if it weren't for that. I can promise you that. So it's not a bad game by any means. I think it's good. It's fun. It's just I feel like there could be some room for visual improvement in the options menu or something. Maybe make it so that lean right is a purple or just a different color, or maybe there's an icon that I can see. Something that clearly shows, even when these things are stacked on top of each other, I can tell which of these 5 behind, one behind the other, which of the 5 is the right, which of the 5 is the left, which of the 5 is down low and to the right, and people might be hearing me say this and go, well, of course you can tell. And all I'm saying is it feels different when you're actually playing the game. So that's the only complaint I have about it.
All right, well, let's talk price on this one. It is available now on PC and PS5. The Xbox version has been delayed. I just found that info while looking for the Xbox page and saw it didn't exist. So the Xbox version has been bumped. No date yet, but PS5, PC out now, $25. Your verdict.
I think this is a good game and worth your time, so I would give it a bite.
Soundtrack on Steam for $10. Thoughts there?
I wouldn't buy it just yet because you're going to hear it a lot while playing the game. So, do you really need to buy it too? Maybe wait until you're done and determine if you want to hear it some more.
Fair enough. All right, next up, Boulder Dash 40th anniversary, developed and published by BBG Entertainment, released August 20th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Xbox PC, PS4, PS5, and PC for $19.99. Switch August 28th, also $19.99. Immerse yourself in 40 years of video game history. Oh my god, my back. And experience the classic Boulder Dash in an epic anniversary edition. Join Rockford on his hunt for diamonds in dangerous caves, more faithful to the original than ever before, yet more modern than ever as well. Celebrate 40 years of retro action with a game that made history. Chris, what is going on in the 40th anniversary edition of Boulder Dash?
What the hell, indeed. Excuse me, I'm having an attack here. So yeah, if you don't know, Boulder Dash is a game that's kind of been around for a while. It is a kind of a computer arcade console game. I mean, it's been kind of everywhere. If you look at the Wikipedia page for it, you'll see that there's like as many iterations of this game as there have been years in between. And so yeah, this 40th anniversary collection, which was apparently made or co-made by the original developer, according to it, is kind of a it's a little bit of a collection. It does include a brand new game, and it also has a little bit of gallery aspect to it, but in kind of a different way, I guess. So first off, we'll talk about the game in general. So basically, the way Boulder Dash works is that you have a little character who is in a room of tiles, right? And just like any classic arcade game, it's just one room of like different tiles and stuff. And so in this room of tiles, it's a little bit like a dig dug kind of situation, right? You're digging through the ground, so the ground is all around, and there's also boulders. Now, if you clear the ground underneath a boulder, that boulder's going to drop. It will either drop on your head, or if you move out of the way, it'll drop onto, just the next available solid thing. The idea is that the goal is that you want to go through this stage, dropping boulders and revealing the stuff you want, which are like jewels and whatnot, without getting crushed or without the boulders falling in such a way that they impede your progress. Because you can actually, you have a limited ability to like push things around, and like I said, it's mostly strategically digging, and on a timer, by the way, so it's not just that you can sit there and strategize forever. But yeah, like once you get enough of those jewels, you can then head for a door that's located in the stage. It opens up, and then you got to go there. And once you do, stage clears, and you go to the next stage. It just gets progressively harder. The boards get more complicated, and there's a higher amount of jewels that you have to find. Okay, so that's the basic game. So the newer games feature basically a 60-stage tutorial, which is interesting. I guess it kind of tells you, I guess it's supposed to teach you like different subtle things about the gameplay loop, like the way that it always goes. I didn't even make it through all the
60 are the classic levels from Boulder Dash 1, 2, and 3, and then there's 180 brand new levels. Well, no, yeah, I was gonna get to that. The main is a 60 level tutorial as well, and then there's 180 regular stages, and they're spread across 3 difficulty settings. So you got Obsidian Depths, which is easy, Crystal Heaven, which is medium, and then Catchy Diamonds, which is hard. And then it even goes further than that, I think. Oh yeah, it definitely goes further than that. Never mind. There's 4 more collections. And 3 of them say 3 of the 60 stage things say created by fan. So that's another thing that I wanted to get to. So yeah, it's more than just the 120 or 180, but on top of that many stages, there also are included all the stages from the first 3 games. Boulder Dash, Boulder Dash 2, Rockford's Revenge, and Boulder Dash 3, which I'm going to read from the Wikipedia page right now about Boulder Dash 3 because it's very funny. This is all they have to say about it. Monochrome space-themed graphics and poorly designed levels made this a critical failure. That's it. So, yeah, apparently the first 2 are good. The third one may be a void. It is monochrome. I did play it. It is just black and white. So yeah, you got the brand new levels. Each one of them, I didn't mean to go into the classic games just yet, but we'll get to them. Like I said, you get to play through the brand new levels, which, like I said, they vary in difficulty and scale up and things like that. You also get to choose from 6 avatars that you can have your little character be. The Rockford Robot, Rockford Tomato Head, Rockford Blonde Boy, Rockford Ant 2, and Rockford Ant, which apparently these are just concept art, but now you can play as them. Or the Rockford Classic, which is kind of a an advertising mascot. So yeah, you have 6 different Boulder Dash characters that you can play these stages as. They're all unlocked from the start. You don't have to like unlock them or anything like that, like I would think you would have to. And then, like I said, you can play through the stages, and the stages have different levels of completion, 1 through 3, 1 through 3 stars. If you get the 3-star, or rather the more stars you get, so that's how this shakes out. Never mind. It's 60 stars, so it's 20 stages per level, and then it's up to 3 stars each, so that's 60 stars. That was kind of confusing at first, but yeah. So that's where they get the 180, is because you've got the 20 tutorial levels, Obsidian Deaths, Crystal Heaven, Catchy Diamonds, and Sifting Journey, and Complex Dash. All that together is 180 stages, and then you've got the more stages created by fans. So yeah, that's what's going on there. The UI is a little confusing sometimes, but yeah. So like I said, with the classic games, you have them presented. You have the option of making them either the for the classic mode, you can have them either be the Commodore 64 port or the Atari 8-bit ports.
So if you prefer one or the other, you can choose that in the menu. You can also put on a CRT effect shader, which of course I never do. And different things like that. All of the options are given as cute little icons versus like actual words. So you just kind of have to figure out what those mean yourself. And yeah, then there is an option to do a workshop where you can create Boulder Dash levels and you can share them, apparently. I have not done that because that's just not what I do, but it would be under the My Collection, and then that would give you access to the list of other stages that were made by other fans, and you can add them to your list. So that's pretty cool too. I always like that. There's a game called Blastworks on the Wii back in the day that had it had like completely customizable. It was a shmup with completely customizable ships and enemy ships and levels, and absolutely no moderation whatsoever. So people were just making all kinds of license crap and putting it up there. Like I downloaded so many Sonic levels that were actually a shmup, and it was great. But I don't know how this goes as far as that goes. I think you have more limited tools in that sense. Anyway, so yeah, if you are a fan of Boulder Dash, I mean, all the gameplay's here. The new game definitely feels good. It's kind of this pseudo 3D. Still presents it as like a single room and stuff, but the characters 3D and everything kind of has this hand-drawn look that's really cool. The physics are the exact physics of classic Boulder Dash, like you would expect. The way the boulders kind of shake a little bit and then drop down, giving you just enough time to like get through them. And yeah, like I said, there's some new obstacles and some new strategies and stuff, but I'm not enough of an expert to know whether those are from the series at large or not, because like I said, there's like 1,000 of these games kind of going around. But overall, yeah, it's a pretty good little collection. And go ahead.
There's a 30th anniversary edition that hit the Switch in 2020, which was actually the 36th anniversary. And then this 40th anniversary is hitting on the 41st anniversary.
Yeah, which is funny because like they have it listed on the Wikipedia page as 2024, which makes me think there was a delay or something.
I'm thinking the PC version released
maybe
year.
But
I don't know.
I found out about the 30th anniversary one. That is bad wording on the Switch, on the Switch page and whatnot. It did come out in 2014, but the Switch port and like other modern console ports came out later, and they just didn't bother to change the name. So, last thing, I swear to God, is that they do have the history section, which actually gives you like on a parchment, which is very funny. It gives you the whole history. Well, not the whole history, I guess, but a pretty. Not super thorough. I would say like a pretty good little like pamphlet size, like kind of history of Boulder Dash and like the ports and about like how the different ones were made and who made them, and goes up through actually the Boulder Dash Deluxe, which was the which I believe that was at that point where they reacquired the rights after it kind of blew up and kind of became, I guess, more of a, you could just make this game kind of thing. They also advertise that they have a complete history video on their YouTube channel. So you can actually, it doesn't provide a link to that. So I don't know. I haven't looked at that, but it does have like a history of the game too, which is pretty cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. $20. What do you think of the collection?
Well, $20 is, it's including a new game and 3 old games. I mean, they're not exactly the games because they're still presented with like modern, you're more selecting the classic levels and they have the classic look, although they do have the same music, the same modern music that the new game has, because they didn't originally have music as a thing. I think they first started getting soundtracks when they got ported to like the NES or something like that. Again, I don't know this for sure because I haven't played every port, so don't come at me for this one.
No, I'm coming at you.
But yeah, $20 is good if you're a big fan of this type of game. Like I said, you get brand new content and the older games, and I feel like that's worth it in the end. If you're like a casual puzzle game enthusiast, I mean, this is also a good one to kind of go with. Yeah, I mean, I can't really find anything wrong with this as far as that goes. I guess
Cool.
don't buy it if you don't like Boulder Dash.
All right, we got one last game to talk about tonight. That is called OOLO, developed and published by Riddle Master Productions, released August 19th on Steam for $19.99. OOLO is a modern take on the classic isometric adventure. Embark on a non-linear journey across mysterious forests, haunted catacombs, and magical factories. Solve puzzles to collect keys and discover upgrades that change the way you explore this lush fantasy world. Pernell, what is OOLO?
OOLO is a game made for people who look at the game Solstice and go, man, wasn't that game awesome? Can I have something like that, but today? That's the review. No, it's
All
not.
right.
It may as well be, honestly, because that describes the game. But for those who are like, what the hell is Solstice? Well, first of all, God, I'm old. And other than that, this game is an isometric platformer in which you are a wizard who is, like Joe said, is trying to find keys that are scattered across this island so that they can open the portal to get access to a rival character who is doing some stupid crap with a magical item / MacGuffin that is supposed to be used to protect, not destroy a forge. So you're exploring the item of the island, and every segment of it is broken up into individual rooms. Go across the screen, enter another room. Initially, you can only do very specific things. You can running, you can jump. That's what you can do. Man, this wizard's kind of inept, isn't he? But as you explore the space, you'll come across a variety of puzzles, whether they be jumping puzzles or block pushing puzzles, which initially you can't even push. But block pushing puzzles and a variety of other sorts of things, and enemies that are trying to get in your way to prevent you from progressing. And your job is to, well, not be impeded by these things. As you go from room to room, you'll be dodging these obstacles and making attempts at progressing further. Each room has a name. Sometimes I assume, sorry. Each of these rooms has a name, maybe to make it easier for you to refer back to what they were. Sometimes it might be allude to some sort of clue on what you're supposed to do. And other times it's just flavor text. But you'll go for each of these rooms. Lots of times there'll be things that you might not be able to engage just yet. It's almost like meant to tease you to say, you'll come back here later. Remember this place. Too bad you can't mark it on your map. So just maybe remember. Eventually you'll come across magical objects that are hidden throughout the map. And in this game, I feel like they do have a good way of making you feel like, aha, now I can do this thing. Because you will see a number of spaces that seem like you just can't get across them. But if only I had the means to do X, then maybe I can. But once you get that object, now you can progress a little bit further. And I do like that. Well, let me rephrase that. I like and also loathe, not love, the one way that they particularly did a tried and true thing. Because let's say the first thing you get is a glove. Not really a spoiler. You get it within the first couple screens. The glove allows you to push objects. But you'll also start to see blocks lying on the ground where you'll go, man, if I could just pick this block up and move it, I could reach that thing up there. Alas, I can't. Maybe eventually I'll get a glove upgrade that lets me pick things up. Well, rather than do that, this game decided to try something a little different. You acquire something called the Bag of Holding. D&D fans know all about that. But in this game, the way it works is you can stand on top of a block, suck the block into the Bag of Holding, and then release it from the Bag of Holding somewhere else within the same room. You can't carry the blocks between rooms. Now, the reason why this is particularly interesting is because they incorporated other jumping mechanics to this. So what you can do is stand on top of a block, absorb it into the black bag of holding, but just before it goes into the bag of holding, you can jump in the air. And then while you're in the air, you can release the block from the bag of holding, but then jump off the block while it's in the air to get another jump. What that means is you'll be doing a lot of, oh crap, perfect timing, platforming. So it scratches the itch that I love, but I also know that itch is very frustrating. So I can't possibly like it so much as love it and loathe it and have very conflicted feelings I need to address with my therapist.
Fair.
I will acknowledge that this game can be as easy or as hard within reason as you want it to be. What do I mean by that? Well, the platforming puzzles are going to be what they are. You can't change those. And if you've played Solstice in the past, then you know that isometric platforming can be pretty complicated and frustrating when you're trying to line up things just right. But they do give you a few...
See also Landstalker.
Oh, sweet diggums, yes. Though I will say I got better at Landstalker in the long run. Somehow I got better at that than this game. But nice. I digress. God, Landstalker, if you never played that, play it. It's one of my all-time favorite games.
Have you played Lumo?
Yes, I haven't finished Lumo, but I have played Lumo. Has the same problem. Still brutal platforming. But in this game, what they do is they give you 3 difficulty options. I didn't do anything with the first one, so I don't know the specifics, but I believe it's like infinite lives, and it may even let you respawn in the same room where you died at. Actually, that's clearly what it would be. The difficulty I chose is called Classic, I believe. It gives you a life system, and if you run out of lives, you go back to the last place you saved the game. And then there's the bullshit, you'd be a goddamn idiot to do this mode, where you have no lives, and if you die, the game's over. Flat out. You just have to start over. Like you...
Hardcore mode.
You're a masochist if you pick this, and you all know how much I like difficult games, and I wasn't touching that. It only took to the swamp level to realize I made the right decision. But I will say this game hit the notes. It feels really good to play. The music is very good. And while I did get stuck earlier in the game because I made a really stupid situation worse by not noticing that you could jump into a location, I thought it was just, environmental imagery. So I got lost and wasted a lot of time walking in circles. But that part aside, I enjoyed every bit of this game as I played. I felt particularly good when I accomplished something. I enjoyed when I noticed something that seemed a little bit odd and realized, oh, wow, that's actually something I need to engage with to progress further into this screen. It hits the puzzle platformer notes that I love so, so much. And I could not recommend this enough. I do think it's better than Lumo, but I would also recommend Lumo retroactively if you play this and like it.
Cool. $20 verdict.
Easy buy. Easy recommended buy. You won't regret it.
Very good. Did you know Lumo has a sequel coming out?
I did not, but I am on my laptop for the first time in ages with this show, so I am going to look it up right now.
Want to know something even cooler?
Ooh. Am I getting to review it?
No, we're talking to the dev next month, though.
Oh, that would be cool. But then I should see about getting me that review code. Wink, wink.
You'll have to join the Thursday show for that one.
Why would you do that to me? You know I hate Thursdays. They make me do things that I don't usually do.
Like talk about buttholes with Jacob.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's dangerous shit. I don't want to do all that. God.
All right. This episode is finished. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out, being here. Big thanks to Andy for coming on, doing his thing as well. And a massive, massive thanks to Wilbert Roget II for taking time out of his busy schedule as a legitimate video game composer to talk with us idiots.
He's an awesome guy. I appreciate communicating.
And now everyone knows, don't fuck with him. He will shank you with one of his awards.
I can't wait for our episode with award-winning composer of Helldivers and Star Wars Outlaws to get 14 views.
Oh boy.
Gonna be good. Music this episode, I mentioned it earlier, we're gonna play some Helldivers 2 from the Tiberian Suns.
Woo! I like that.
Anyway, have any final words to end the show?
Honeydew Mountain Dew is real, and now I have to find it.
West Coast.
But a friend of mine posted a picture of himself, and he's living in Baltimore. Maybe someone shipped it to him.
Probably. Did you find the trolley yet?
Not yet, but I'm also keeping my eyes open for that one, because I want that more than the honeydew.
That's what I've been drinking tonight.
You're jealous. Ship it.
It's okay. I don't like the aspartame aftertaste because it's 0 sugar only.
Meanwhile, I will buy that before regular, so that's right up my alley. Hey, sign me up for trolley.
How about some tea?
I like tea.
How about a cup of Liber-tea?
Final words to live by.
Yeah. Music.
You guys are into philately? That's what this is?